Hello, everybody, and welcome to my review of Elden Ring. Now, I've been playing it every day since launch, so about a week now, um, as of recording. And normally, what I would do, or what I wanted to do for this actually, is I wanted to do a full playthrough and then do a review. But due to some difficulties with the footage from my PlayStation, as well as getting the footage from my PlayStation to my computer, um, I decided not to do that. So, the footage you see is the footage I got, and I'm just gonna settle with doing a review first, and then doing a playthrough later when I have a proper capture card, because that will be easier to both get footage and sync the audio, because that is also another issue I've had. So, let's get into it. First thing I want to start talking about is the gameplay. Now, the gameplay is very similar to every other Souls game that FromSoft has made, especially very similar to Dark Souls. And some of the things that they've added to Dark Souls makes it easier to sort of explore the world and just in general traverse the massive world that's here. I kind of just said the same thing twice, but I'm leaving it in. Um, First off is jumping. The only Souls game that's had any kind of proper jumping is Sekiro, and I feel like that they took what they learned from Sekiro and put it into the jumping and the stealth into this, because now not only do we have this jump mechanic that makes the sort of like jumping obstacles that they put in these games easier to deal with. There's also an easier way of dealing with large groups of enemies with stealth, because with the stealth you can very easily and quickly sneak up behind someone and do a backstab, which deals a ton of damage, and you can clear out enemy camps relatively easily by just sneaking around and scoring critical hits on the enemies. Then and then another way that they've made it sort of easier to traverse this world is the addition of Torrent, which you should be seeing on screen by now. And Torrent, he's he's summoned by this ring that you get later on in the game, or not later, early in the game, and he has a double jump that makes it easier to traverse the world, get to higher places, and get some secrets. And it makes just traveling the long distances between the points of this world much faster and easier, because going from place to place on foot is is very tedious, is very slow, and I'm glad they did some kind of mount for this game, because I don't I don't think I could walk from Limgrave to Ronnie's Rise uh, just by myself. I could not do it. Um, and then next thing I want to talk about is they brought power stancing back from Dark Souls 2. Now, the power stancing system in Dark Souls 2 I thought was really neat, because I enjoy dual wielding in games, and Dark Souls 2 effectively did a neat dual wielding system, but Dark Souls 2 had its own problems that did make that experience enjoyable, as well as needing 1.5 times the stat requirement to power stance, made power stancing basically not a viable thing in Dark Souls 2, at least not for early start. In Elden Ring, however, they took away the stat requirements for power stancing, and now you can just get 2 long swords, put one in each hand, and just power stance right out the gate. In fact, that's how I beat Margit, the first boss. Is I just picked up a short sword and a long sword, power stanced it, and just went at him best I could. And after, I think it was like, I'm ashamed of this number, but I think it was like 5 hours of just nonstop fighting Margit and fighting him with power stances. I finally got him. It was a long time, and I am a little bit ashamed of how long it took to do it. But also, Margit is probably the hardest first boss that FromSoft has ever put in any of their games. And honestly, I like that. I like that there are some. I like that there are hard boss fights in this, because that's what the Souls series is known for. It is known for its difficulty. So having a hard first boss basically sets you up for what the rest of this game's gonna be. And I really like that about the Souls series. Next, I want to talk about the magic in this game, because there is a slight tweak to it. So, magic in Elden Ring is split into 2 categories. It's sorceries. Of course, we all know what that is. That is your just sorceries. And then incantations, which are the miracles. And pyromancies have turned into miracles. Every single fire-related spell that would be considered a pyromancy in Dark Souls, I have found to be an incantation. So pyromancies, they're still there, but they're not pyromancies technically. They are in the miracle-based magic system. So if you want to go for a pyromancer build, might want to start as a cleric. You get a decent amount of faith. Some of them do still require an intelligence requirement, but not all of them. In fact, some of them even require a third stat that affects your magic, arcane, which is something new that they've added. Arcane is effectively your luck stat. When you level up your arcane stat, you level up your item discovery and your ability to inflict status ailments as well, just like luck would in Dark Souls. So that's something that was interesting for me to learn, interesting for me to figure out, and sort of play around with the new magic stuff that they've done in this game. Now let's talk about the graphics. As you can see from the gameplay I'm showing, I'm in the tutorial area, which doesn't really show off Elden Ring's graphical capability, because it is a small enclosed space. It's more aligned to what you're used to seeing in Dark Souls. But Elden Ring is one of the better looking games on PlayStation. and I really like that. And there's an option to switch between either frame rate priority or graphical priority. And I started with graphical priority, but then I switched to frame rate priority because I prefer higher frame rates than pretty looking games. I mean, I still like it when a game looks good, but I also want it to run smooth. So I switched over to frame rate for my own personal reasons, but you can choose whichever one you want. And as for the story, I don't really want to comment on the story just yet because one, I haven't beaten Elden Ring yet, so I don't have the full story, but it is kind of basically how all these Souls games start is you wake up, you're told to go do a thing and become this great lord. In Elden Ring's case, it's go beat the Shard Bearers, which are like the major bosses, get the Great Runes, and become an Elden Lord. And that's all I'm getting into it. I'm not gonna go into. I'm not gonna go deep lore into this game. That's for other people to do. People who know what they're talking about, and people who can actually invest that time into doing it. And good on them. And now the last thing I'm going to talk about before I give my rating is the bugs. Now, I personally have not experienced any major bugs. A few ragdoll glitches here and there, but those are expected in a Souls game. But everyone else seems to be complaining about just errors and crashes, and I just haven't experienced any of that. And honestly, Elden Ring has been running fairly decently for me just fine on PlayStation 5. And even from the reviews on Metacritic, PlayStation 5 seems to be the most stable version of Elden Ring. It has like I think it has the most reviews on it, and it has the highest review review number. So yeah, if you're gonna get Elden Ring, recommended get it on PlayStation 5 because it seems to be the most stable of all the versions, and PC seems to be the worst. But that's just kind of how PC gaming goes. You get not great ports of games. Uh, but yeah, I haven't experienced any big problems, so this is all I gotta say on the matter. It hasn't happened to me. I'm fine with how it's going right now. And now for my rating. Elden Ring is a fantastic game. I absolutely love it. I love the difficulty. I love just how the move sets of all the weapons feel. And I also really love the sorceries as well. And there's only ever been one game that I've played that's that I would consider giving a 10 out of 10, and that was Ghost of Tsushima. And Elden Ring, I think, is going to be the second game I give a 10 out of 10 for. So Elden Ring, for me, is a well and solid 10 out of 10. Even despite the errors that everyone else seems to be getting. I haven't gotten them. It's just fine. It's a solid 10 out of 10 for me. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe, like the video, and wait and see what I got next. I'm probably going to do a Salt and Sanctuary playthrough next. See ya.